From the And the Groove Remains production team studios in the Netherlands, my name is Mixmaster G and welcome to this live stream. My mission is not to sell you as many apps as I can, no, my mission is to educate and teach you about collection management and conversion for DJs, so you save yourself more time for the fun and creative part of being a DJ. This is going to be a special stream, because in this stream I'm not only going to dive into what makes the ATGR Studios stream, so what kind of equipment I use, what kind of software I use, how I do my settings, etc, etc. No, I'm also going to give you a tour around the ATGR production team studios, show you what kind of equipment is set up here, how I wired it all together, why I wired it the way I wired it, stuff like that. So this will be deep geek territory, I can guarantee you that. As always, the chat is open in case you've got questions, and I hope there will be plenty of questions coming in. So if you got a question, just post it in the chat and I will get it here and see how I can answer it. Usually I make the mistake in this stream, in any stream basically, to forget to switch about cam positions, because then I'm so caught up in the middle of what I'm telling you that I basically forget that what I'm seeing in the screen right in front of me is not what you guys are seeing on your screen and what is streamed. So if that's the case, just let me know in the chat and I'm happy to switch back to whatever view we are going to view. Let me start first by telling you this. I'm Dutch. And that means that us Dutch guys or Dutch people are differently wired than, for instance, Americans. We never brag about what we have position-wise or what kind of stuff we use. That's not who us Dutchies are. We are a bit Calvinistic in that matter. So I doubted a very long time if I were going to do a stream like this, showing you guys what I got, because I can imagine, especially during hard times like this, Holland is in a hard lockdown now. COVID has struck all over the world, so most DJs are without a job at all. And I have got basically a DJ's dream here in my studio set up. So I find that a little bit difficult, but that's a personal feeling. Everybody who knows me personally knows that I'm not the guy who is going to do a dick measure contest and show everything off. I rather stay as the underdog in the background and do it like that. Having all said that, the questions about your Mixmaster G, what are you using, what is your stuff, show us all the stuff you have set up there, tell us a little bit more about the background of it. And that came in almost on a weekly basis, and that is what decided me to do this stream after all, and to make it a little bit geeky, a little bit more tech nerd like than the usual streams, though they are technical too, but from different perspective. They are technical from the collection and conversion perspective. This is going to be personal. So that's why I was a little bit reluctant about it. So having all said that, let me start by the basics. How do I stream? The problem is that though I am in the populated area of Holland, if you may say so, we call it the Randstad, I'm in a rural area. I'm basically in the middle of all kind of green fields and a lot of water, and that is where my mansion is, which means that the connection here is not optimum. I don't have fiber optics here. The best I can get is a DSL connection right now. I'm hoping that 5G would change that, but it's not economic feasible for the fiber optic companies to roll out fiber optics to my area, which is also the reason why I always have to tweak my streams a little bit to make sure that, given the limited bandwidth I have at my disposal, the picture and the sound quality are still acceptable. So that is all coming from that part. Everything I stream is streamed right now over a dedicated DSL line. So I just saved my dedicated DSL line, which means Yvette, her Netflix is on a different DSL line. so it doesn't interfere with each other. This DSL line I'm using to send you this image is dedicated right now to the stream to preserve the maximum bandwidth that is available. My streaming software of choice is OBS. I know that there is a different solution for macOS called Streamlabs, but I feel very confident with OBS. I'm using it for a long time to make the raw material of my tutorials, and the moment the tutorial is ready, then I do it in Final Cut, I edit in Final Cut. So when I started streaming, and basically that was just before COVID hit, the fact is that I was asked to do some podcasts on some radio stations about the stuff I always do podcasts and vlogs about. And I thought, hey, why don't I do this for the people who are using my stuff and who are interested in what I'm having to tell them. So that is the reason why I started these streams. But I never used OBS, for instance, for streaming. And OBS and macOS are two different animals, and you need to know a lot of stuff about OBS before you decide, hey, I'm going to stream, especially depending on your hardware setup. It is not an optimum setup. I use OBS with this thing. This is, I hope the camera can get it because it's very, with the bright lights on. This is a keypad, a Bluetooth keypad, and I can mute my mic with it, like that, or I can change camera positions with it, as you can see. And that is what I use to quickly switch my positions. I'm wired. The other cams that are used is the cam I'm looking right now, which is a Logitech 930 cam, just your basic webcam, but with a shitload of light, just to make sure that there is some kind of viewable image coming from it. And then we've got this cam right here, which is also a Logitech cam, which is at the ceiling, so you have a complete studio overview right away. So those are the two cams I use. Because I'm most of the time doing stuff like this, meaning we have a screen capture running, it is very important for me that the screen is readable, which means, and there the problems really start, we have to start with a 1080, 99, 20 picture, which is basically this. For this purpose, I always switch my monitors. Right now, the monitor I'm looking at is a 1920 pixel by 1080 pixel monitor, which is not the usual resolution I work with. Usually I'm much bigger. But the problem is, if you've got bigger or higher resolution monitors, like for instance the ones built in a MacBook Pro, and you bring that back to the 1920 1080 resolution, which you use to stream up to YouTube or whatever you want to stream to, then you get all kinds of distortions and resizing artifacts, and I don't want that. I need the text on my screen to be readable, because 9 out of 10 of my streams are just about readable text on my screen and telling you what is going on my screen. So it is very important to have that 1080 1920 monitor at your disposal the moment you do stuff like this, because resizing is never a good thing. Let me bring up my OBS. Here we are, and now we look all together into eternity, as you can see. Because what I want to show you is, first, make sure that your OBS preferences are set correctly. And that means that under the video, you set it to 920, 1080 as an output, right there. And you have the same resolution as canvas base. So make those two the same. The moment they differ, you ask your Mac to resample the stream, and that makes weird artifacts, unreadable text, etc. Overall pictures like people or just normal video will be fine, but because readability of my video is so crucial, this is the way I do it. And then we come at the second point of the second biggest problem OBS and macOS have. And before I dive into that, I have to explain something to you. There exists something in computers that is known as the Graphical Processing Unit, a GPU. Maybe you know it as a graphic card. You hear gamers talk about graphic cards all the time and how important they are and how big they are. I can even show you one, because today we came prepared, so we got stuff to show you. This here is a typical graphic card. It comes with a bunch of connections. You see that? A bunch of connections. It has its very own van, which already indicates, all right, this is powerful stuff because it needs cooling. And it even got its very own, let me see if I can find it quickly. No, not quickly, but it even got its very own power. It doesn't draw its power from here usually, from here. It usually gets its own lead from the power supply unit within a computer. So that means this is powerful stuff. Basically, this is an entire computer. But this computer can do the general stuff that a CPU is made of. A CPU is made to work with spreadsheets and word processors and browse the web, etc. Which a CPU is very good at. This thing is made for only one thing: processing video data. And processing video data is a huge amount of data, as you might imagine. And a CPU is basically not built for that. Which means that if you've got a GPU unit like this in your computer, then you always hope that the OS will take advantage of it. And for displaying video, that is usually referred to as rendering. For rendering, there's always the GPU used, and it doesn't matter what you have in your Mac. As long as there is a GPU there, it will be utilized for rendering. For instance, right now you see that my CPU right here is running at 6% on average. That is not much given the fact that there is a green screen overlay running, there is some audio running, there is all kind of stuff running, which usually would be much bigger if I didn't have a big GPU unit in this computer. And if you want to know what kind of GPU unit that is, let me show that to you. The system report, please. There we are. And then you go to the graphic displays, there we are. And there you see that I've got right here a Radeon RX 580 as the GPU inside. And that has its own RAM. It has 8 GB of RAM. It's by AMD. It's fully supported. And by the way, you can also see right here that the monitor you're looking at is this monitor. That is this resolution. So there's no scaling of that. You see the other monitor I'm connected to this system has a much higher resolution right there. Which means if I'm using that monitor for doing exactly what I'm doing right now, you don't get the complete picture unless it's scaled. So that's the reason why we don't use that. Oh, I'm not switching video, of course. That's my bad, folks. Let me show that again to you, but then in real time. Here we are again. So these are the specs of the computer I'm running at right now. And you can see right here that it's a Radeon 580 8 GB card. You can see right here that the display we are looking at, this display right in front of me, the same display you see is a 9020 by 1080 display, and this is my other display which I do the stuff on that are not meant for your eyes. So I have a GPU in this machine, and I can tell you that I have one because my CPU usage is running at average 6% right now. You see that right there on the under lower corner, which makes everything fine. Now we have one difference, because this is what is known as a discrete GPU unit. And GPU that is not part of the CPU, because the opposite to that is an integrated GPU unit, or an IGP. And some of your MacBooks come with both. They have an IGP, and that means that there is a graphical processor built inside the CPU, and they have a discrete GPU as well. So far so good. If you've got that discrete GPU, then OBS will be fine and will use it because it is much faster than the IGP, the one that is inside your macOS or inside your Macintosh. Let me say hi to someone. Hey Anthony, thank you for watching. Yes, I saw that I didn't switch the screen, so I hope I fix it right away. But if it happens again, please scream it out in the video, because I know myself, I make that mistake all the times. So please do that. That being said, so if your computer has an IGP, and I wanted to show you that on my MacBook Air, but it looked like the team viewers on my current computer and my MacBook Air don't like each other anymore. So I give it one more try to see if I can log into it. Otherwise I leave it to what it is, because that MacBook Air I'm using right now, and I like to use a MacBook Air. I don't like MacBook Pros because I find them overpriced. But most important, I use my MacBook mainly when I'm on travel. So if I'm in a plane, like last time I really used my MBA was when I was traveling to NAM last year. And then I can code on an MBA on its battery for almost the entire flight. It doesn't use that much juice. While with MacBook Pro I can do that. So that's the reason why I like to stick to my MacBook Air. But I was trying to see if I could get inside my MacBook Air to show you some things, but I hope I will be capable of doing that. But no, it's not picking up my password. Well, I know it's the right password, so let's not waste any time on that. I just discovered that before I start the screen. Anyway, everybody now understands that if you've got some kind of GPU, some kind of graphic processor inside your computer, whether it be a discrete GPU or an integrated graphical processor inside the CPU, everything that is shown on your screen, so which is rendered because you told the computer to render it, will be fine. There will be no problems with rendered data. It will all be shown there and it will be fine. Now there is another thing that needs to be done by OBS, and that is named encoding. And encoding, we all basically know, if you come from an audio background, what encoding means. If you make from a WAV or an IFF file an MP3 file, that is encoding. And that same encoding happens if you are going to upstream, if you're going to upload stuff to a streaming service. I use Restream.io, more about it later, but if you even go to YouTube straight or Facebook or to Twitch, then you still are going to encode your video, simply because the raw video data that is displayed on your screen and that you can record from, let's say, OBS directly by pressing the record button right here, start recording, that button. That video stream is too big to send to an upstream service. So it needs to be compressed, and it needs to be compressed in a particular format. And whatever that format might be, that depends on the streaming service. And here the real problem starts, folks, because if you need to encode video, then all of a sudden OBS for macOS doesn't use the GPU. At best it might use an AGP, your integrated graphical processor, but for this Mac, for instance, where the CPU is an i9, but the GPU of an i9 is not supported by macOS, so as far as my computer is concerned, there is no IGP there. The only thing it knows about is the Radeon card inside, and that Radeon card it cannot utilize to upstream. But exactly this same thing happens if you use a MacBook Pro, even the most expensive currently on the market, MacBook Pro with an i9 inside and a Radeon card inside, cannot use the Radeon card when it comes to encoding. And I wanted to show you the reason for that, but I'm going to try something else. I'm going to start up the computer in front of the office instead of using my MacBook Air and show it on that one, because this is important, folks, that you know why sometimes you need to take a different route to get your video from here to the streaming service. If I were to stream from this computer, and you can see there is no streaming happening from this computer because it says start streaming, and why that is and how that all works, I get to that, but it's important that you understand this part first. Because the moment I start streaming, even on this i9 rig, my CPU will spike to 50 to 60%, leaving only 40% for things like Rekordbox, Mixed-in Key, Traktor, Serato, the things I usually demonstrate to you, which is not good enough. That will result in stuttering video, stuttering audio, and that is not what I want to happen. So that is the reason why I do some tricks, but that's also the reason why I want you to understand what is going on. So bear with me for a moment while I start up the other computer, and then I have to run back to it because I most likely need to log in and to start TeamViewer. But I will show you what the settings are and where the settings are in order for this to work. Because right now, because this computer is actively streaming, though you can see it because I use some tricks there, I cannot get to those settings. I can try it, and I can say I want to go to the output, and there you can see I cannot change anything because, for instance, I need to make this output from simple to advanced, and I cannot do this. And these are just the streaming settings you can see right now that are being used. So hold on a sec and let me double check if that computer is up and running now, and if I can log into it, because I couldn't do that on my Mac or on my MacBook Air. Don't you love it, a wireless microphone? And plenty of computers to use if you do this kind of stuff. And let's see, where am I? There am I. And then I need TeamViewer to activate. And I need to know the name of this computer. Let's see if I can get into it. And otherwise I leave it and I'm just going to move ahead and tell you how to fix those problems. But I always try to make you understand why certain problems occur so you can prevent them yourself. That's all good. All right, we're in. This can go. It's a little bit a mess on that computer's desktop, so bear with me. But this is what I basically wanted to show you. And then we go to... I always have to fight the bars. Let me make this a little bit smaller here. And let's see, there we have OBS. And you may think, hey, Mixmaster G, that is on a different computer, exactly what you're showing us. That is right. So let me deactivate that to avoid any confusion. And that is, by the way, part of the trick I'm using, and that will be for later. And I don't need all those things. At least we are somewhere, buddies. Let me double check that this is fine too. All right, if I go to preferences here, and I go to output, and I go to advanced, as you can see, I played a little bit with it. This is what your default is. This is what currently my computer is running on, which is this. Now, if you read this correctly, then you see that right here it says encoder software x264. In layman terms, that means that if you are going to stream from that particular computer, it will use the CPU to calculate the video that is upstreamed, which is the spike in CPU you get the moment you hit streaming and you don't have a GPU that can be utilized by OBS in your system. Now there is, like you saw, an advanced mode, and there you can choose the hardware encoder, because that computer too has a Radeon card in it, so it has a discrete GPU that it can utilize for the encoding, you might think. But that's the difference, or that's the problem. Because let me show you, the moment I start recording, which is basically the same as start streaming, you see that it gives us an error. It tells you cannot output because I cannot talk to your device. The reason for that, and now we are deeply getting into technical territory, is that you see there the name, and that is Apple VT-H264 hardware encoder. The magic word in that description is VT, which is an abbreviation for Video Toolbox. And the Video Toolbox is a piece of software that Apple provides, much like OpenGL, and a software developer speaks to. So a software developer says, all right, I've got here a bunch of video data and that needs to be encoded, throws that to the VT, or throws that to the Video Toolbox in this case, and it expects an H264 file back from it, because that's how this shit is supposed to work. The problem is that that Video Toolbox only works with IGPs, only works with integrated graphical processors, which means if you've got a MacBook Air, like the MacBook Air I was trying to use, which has an IGP, it has an Iris IGP inside, it's an Intel i5 chip, that will work fine. That will have, the moment I start streaming, a very low CPU rate, because still everything is offloaded to the GPU, or the IGP actually, for the graphic processing. In this high-end system you are looking at, I'm connected with that in it, the Radeon card cannot be utilized. The only possibility I got is going through the software modus, which is then fine, because then I can start recording and you see no errors there. But that also means that the CPU inside that machine is being used to encode the video stream, to compress it and to make it digestible by any streaming servers. So the takeaway from this is, if you've got a Mac and you want to start streaming and you cannot utilize the graphical processor inside that Mac because it's a discrete graphical processor, then you're screwed, because you cannot use OBS. Well, that is not entirely the complete story, because the smart people of New Tech developed something, and that is called NDI. And NDI basically comes down to a networking protocol where you can output your video to a network, and any other device that speaks NDI on that particular network can pick up that video stream. So my OBS, here we are again, looking into eternity. I have NDI installed, and the basic installation of NDI comes in two pieces. The first piece is the NDI runtime, and this is all free stuff, folks. I don't know how the people from New Tech make any money, but this is free. And you pick up the NDI runtime, if you Google it, you get it, and you install it. That by itself will not do anything. It will not do a thing, basically because the NDI runtime for macOS is just a library. And then you've got the OBS NDI plugin, which enables NDI for OBS. And what my Mac I'm looking at right now, the one that is running at 6% CPU usage, is doing is it has the output to NDI, set to NDI. So instead of streaming or instead of recording, I'm just putting all this stuff you're seeing right in front of me, all that is happening on your screen, on my network. You can see right here that main output is set on and it's named OBS. Now, if I go back to where I was before, and that was basically the other Mac. And remember, you saw already my picture there because that was all set up for OBS or for NDI. And let's see, it is right here. This is the NDI setting, and you see that it is connected to the source name, the Beast, that is the name of this particular computer, over OBS. And I can also take just the audio from it if I would like so. This is not limited to OBS, and that is the beauty of it, because with it comes another thing, and then let me show you that also. Because you can freely download the new tech NDI tools for MacOS DMG. You see right there. And on that package there is all kinds of tools and all kinds of techno stuff. But on that package is something called the NDI virtual input. And let me go back to my other computer and let me turn on the NDI virtual input. You see it right there. And here is the NDI input appearing. And I can simply say I want to connect to the Beast for OBS, and that's it. What has happened on that computer we are looking right now, is that there is a virtual cam and a virtual audio interface created, both named NDI, and both linked to this computer. So if I'm starting up OBS again, let me just show this from. And we make a new scene, completely empty, like this. And we add to that scene a web camera, a video capture device. And we tell that the device we want to use is NDI video. Yes, we want that. And you see it like that. Can't go any bigger. No, this is it. This is the max. Oh no, hi. There you go. And there you see that we've got right there. This is a virtual camera. That same virtual camera appears on the instance. So if I quit this, no, let it run because maybe I need it for something else later on. So if we're now back on the computer that I used to stream, and because that NDI is just put on the network, it's just available. It's also available right here on my own computer. I can say, all right, connect it to the Beast, and you see Contour Bureau. That is the different computer I just booted up to the Beast. I connect it to, and now if, for instance, I go to my Skype, and let's hope that there is not too much stuff in there that you're not supposed to see. Here's my Skype. And we go to the audio and video settings. And there I can say, all right, I want to use NDI video as my input. And I want to use NDI audio. And you can see it already. You see the microphone there moving. That means that Skype can utilize that as well. That is all coming from OBS. Let me show that again to you because this can be confusing, I know, guys. But this is so much fun, and this can be so powerful because, look, I can just switch scenes there. You see that? That's in Skype. That is in the Skype settings. All the different cams. I see that they are mirrored, but that's fine. As you can see, we can do everything I want. As far as Skype concerned, it is a virtual camera, but we know better. This is not a virtual camera. This is actually me playing around with the rest of the settings. So that is very, very, very powerful. That's me again. So that NDI output is running from this OBS, and that's basically the only thing that OBS needs to do, and that's all offloaded to this discrete graphic card, to the Radeon card inside my computer. So that's the reason why my CPU load is so low, because basically my CPU doesn't have much to do otherwise than doing this kind of stuff. Now I here think, hey Mixmaster G, but if this computer is not streaming, how the heck are you getting this stuff on the internet. How do you get it to your streaming service? And the answer, I'm a little bit ashamed to say, the answer is a Windows computer. And let me go to that computer as well. Here, this is a Windows computer. And you can see looking into eternity again. And that is connected to Restream.io. And how is it connected to Restream.io? Exactly like I told you, through the new tag NDI video input channel. You see right here, NDI video. And you see it is connected to the beast, as you can see. And there was a little thing going on because when I was using my base audio, it was not loud enough. It was very, very soft actually. So you can see it at plus 20 dB. It must be an NDI thing for the virtual plugin. I didn't experience that problem with anything else, but now it just looks fine. But just if you are going to experiment with this kind of stuff, that is a Windows machine. And the fun part is that that Windows machine, fully streaming at full resolution, is still at a CPU load of 16%, which is nuts because it's an i7 computer. It doesn't come near the specs this computer has. So if you want to have a reliable streaming rig, you need a Windows computer to be the final part of that streaming setup, and that upstreams to your streaming service, because Macs, unless you have an IGP unit and unless your MacBook Air or MacBook Pro with IGP is wired to the internet and not Wi-Fi, never use Wi-Fi for this kind of purposes, then it won't work. So that is how I get my data on the internet, or how basically this stream reaches you. It's all Macintosh till the moment that I need to upstream it, then it's a Windows computer. And that Windows computer, basically because Windows is the only platform using OBS or using whatever you want, because I don't know of much other services that can use it. For instance, if you connect to YouTube over Safari, you still are limited to an IGP, and if you've got a GPU, you have a problem and your CPU load will spike. And unless you've got a real hefty CPU unit, like the i9 in my system, this will work. So that was what I wanted to tell you about the stream setup. Then let's go to the fun, less technical, geeky part of what I had in mind. Because first, let me tell you how the audio reaches you. You already saw that. Let me get the overhead cam as well, then we know exactly what we are doing. Hold on. Because I was needing that anyway. There we are. Let's see if I can. There we are. There we are. This is right here. I am standing. As you can see, this is my basic setup. It are two CDJ 2000 Nexus 2s. I use these CDJs not only for now for the stream, but these are used as a controller and tractor in HID, in hit mode, so I can easily set my cues, my loops, and everything else. This DDM 900 you see right here is there we are, connected to the Mac, and it's connected over a USB box. I use Behringer UAC 2020 or 2, man, why can't they make it normal now? 3 twos boxes to connect my audio. The reason why I do that is that I want to have my microphone separated from everything else. So the Pioneer Audio has its own box and my microphone has its own box, which is making sure that because the PA is connected to the Pioneer and I don't have PA on my microphone that goes straight into the Mac and goes straight streaming, Do I have an echo, Tobias? Hold on, I'm getting somebody telling me there is an echo on my... And I see that the performance is getting back. Tobias, can you tell me if indeed my audio is going to the shredder or not? Because that is important for me to know. It looks like the performance on my MacBook is getting low now. So maybe because I signed into my... now it's good. Oh, thank you. It might be possible that it was echoing for a different reason there. Thank you. Again, folks, if stuff like this happens, I'm a one-man show. I'm doing this all by myself, so just give a yell, and I have my eyes on the chat so I can see that if something like this is happening, that I can fix it. So thank you, Tobias, for that. Though I didn't do anything about it or change anything about it. Back to the audio. So I've got the microphone on a separated audio part, and I've got the Pioneer on a separated audio part. All audio in my studio is routed to this particular unit. This one has everything in it. You will see in a moment which bricks that all are. But right now, this channel is connected to should be connected to USB-A, which means it should give the audio that is going on in my computer. If I start audio in my computer, it will be on this particular channel. And again, I see the echo. I know where the echo is coming from. That is the echo, and now it's gone. That was... Yeah, I know, Tobias. The echo was the iOS cam. That was something else I was going to tell you guys about. I use an iOS, an old iPhone SE as my overhead cam, and in a moment you will see why. Because when I was on, for instance, Denon stuff, then the Denon uses a matrix to work on the LEDs, and you could see them flash in the pattern. So it was not a flash like... no, it's not the FX. It was the microphone of the iPhone that is used as a camera that was active all of a sudden as well. You can see it right there. You see, right? Hold on, let me show you. Oh, all right, that's my bad. Let me make a screen cut of it, because I cannot show you, because the moment I switch the microphone, it switches the microphone. So let me show that in a screen cut. Hold on. Yeah, now it should show it, and it does show it. You see right there, iOS camera that had right here, that one was active. So if that is active, that means that you get indeed an echo. But I killed it, and usually I did just take them out, but I was working with a different iPhone than I usually am working with, so I forgot it. So thank you, Tobias. I know now where it came from, because you got me scared a little bit there, man. So basically all audio is coming from this thing, and this thing, it's boot output, so the output which normally goes to the boot amplifier or the boot speakers is now connected to the Behringer USB box and is taken as an input for OBS, which means that from here I can control all the audio, but also for all the rigs. And before we do that, I'm thinking about, did I forget something about my stream setup? Because I think we basically covered it all. And then the next part I am going to do is just show you guys what my studio looks like, because I was trying to do this with a live NDA connected cam, but the problem was it is too dark in most parts of my studio. And because it was too dark, I decided that it was a better idea to just film it when the sun was shining and everything was bright. Use that video to show you what the layout of my studio is, and then after that we go into everything in detail. So First, let's roll the tape, as we used to say. Roll the tape. All right, folks, let's start this tour. This is the door you usually enter my place with, so that looks a little bit like this. And this area is basically the area where I do my administration, right there, that computer. Where I have meetings. This is the meeting table, so if I give a workshop or if I got artists in for personal tutoring, then usually we got a meeting right there. Then here, every geek should have its own geek workbench, and this is my workbench. You can see all kind of electronic stuff there. This might be of interest because this right here you are looking at, this is the streaming computer. This is a Windows computer, as you can see. Let me zoom into that. And that is connected to the other computer, as I have explained before. Then right there, other thing of interest is my test M1 mini computer, which I just use to test if everything is working as expected. And as you can see, it's a bit of a mess there, but a geek bench should be a bit of a mess. And again, here you see the whole area, and let me give a complete shot of that. There we've got a poster of the very first Apple Macintosh ever produced. There we are, of interest as well. And this is basically where, if you come to visit my studios, if you are invited to visit my studios, when you enter the studio, then we have a small corridor right here with couches, so you can chill, sit back, relax, etc. And there you already see the DJ bench. Right here we've got the jukebox with Biggie, because I like to be surrounded by my heroes, which means I've got Yoda on one end and I've got Biggie on the other hand. And this is where I'm standing right now when I'm doing this presentation. This is my work stay here. This is the station I work at. I do everything standing, so you can see that everything is elevated right there. Don't look at the mess beyond or underneath. This is what I usually see when I'm streaming with you guys. Only the lights are off right now. I will do all the kits you see right here, which are covered right now, and this one separately live, because I can use a camera that is connected to the rails right above it. As you can see right there, there's an iPhone SE that I can feed straight in, and that is hanging above, so I can just use that to show you all the details of those kits. One kit I cannot reach, but which is of special interest, is right here, which is the track to DVS station. As you can see, of special interest is this mixer. It is what is called a Datec GPM8. It's an 8-channel mixer with long faders. This thing is approximately 35 years old. Running audio mixer you can find. Only you can see that the views are a little bit. There we are. Now they work as they are supposed to do. This is a great piece of kit. It's one of the first kits that, for instance, have a pilot tone right here, which you can use. Let me show that. So, which you could use to adjust your PA installation. You can make the meters post fader if you want to. As you can see, I'm a little bit in the red there. Each channel has its own cue, of course its own gain, so we can move that a little bit back like that. That looks a lot better. But that is basically, this is basically the kit I started out professional DJing with. These are my 1200s. Underneath the 1200s you see Korg nanopods. You see it right here as well, which are mapped for the cues on Tractor, so you can very quickly have 8 cues setting and you can erase 8 cues. You see they are both there. I usually switch this one to program number 3. You can have different program numbers, so they are separated, because otherwise they only work at deck 1, and now they work at deck 1
and DEC 2. Of course, this is my tractor computer. Anything else I can tell about that? I'm using orthophone digital shelves. The digital part, because this is an analog mixer, folks, the digital part is taken care of by an audio 8 that is underneath. And the fun part of that audio 8 is that you can also use it just as a regular preamp for normal vinyl. You can switch tractor to normal vinyl internally. And what I usually do is I have two scripts there. I will show that more when I log into this computer from my streaming station. These are my big ass monitors. As you can see, Electro Voice monitors I use. Actually, these are not monitors. These are just performance speakers as well. But hey, I like to use them as a monitor. And I got some smaller monitors that you see right there. Just your regular average computer monitors which sound just fine with the subwoofer. For normal use, which is normally when I'm working. But the Electro Voices are used when I'm, well, playing out. Let's switch to the live cam now and let me show you the rest of this all.
And we talk about the delay there. And we are back. So that was a little tour at daylight of the studio, so you know a little bit about the area I am in right now. And I promised you we take a look at the various kits. So let's start out with the first kit right here. And of course, all of you recognize this kit. Let's see, yeah, the iOS cam is off. This is a good old SE5000 kit. All my Denon kits are in Swan Flight cases, and I really recommend those cases. Are actually coffins. As you can see, all I need is power. I've got RCA out and I've got XLR out. So balanced and unbalanced is right there. There are no connections I need to make. The decks are connected digitally to the X1800 mixer. All my decks are always digitally connected if possible. And even going to the DGM 900, the final mixer I just showed you, is done digitally. So everything is coax digital. There is no analog data whatsoever around this one. This, of course, is the old Denon kit of mine, but I still like to use it. I like the fact that we have a screen inside the jog wheels. I really like that. But I was able to get a new kit. Let me roll the cam there a little bit, which is right next to it, which is indeed a 6000M kit, which is the rotating jog, as you can see. I still have to get used to this. First of all, notice that this is a Zone DB4 by Allen & Heath mixer. I was not satisfied by the audio quality that Denon provides. I find it too faint. I'm from the old mobile DJ. That's how I started as a mobile DJ. And we had those passive speaker arrays, if you might recall, with a sub and a tweeter and everything in it. And I find the sound of the Denon equipment basically like somebody is standing in front of your tweeter. It is not very vibrant. And I like a vibrant sound, especially with my Electro Voice speakers, which are capable to produce a wonderful, neat sound. So that's the reason why I do it like that. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. I'm very happy with my place. Thank you. And this is this is just the office and the studio. By the way, this is not the mansion itself. Let me switch that off again. So that's why I decided I want something else. I want a different piece of mixer, which is closer to what I want to hear. And then you automatically come up with Allen & Heath. However, the Zone 96 doesn't have 4 digital audio inputs. And I wanted 4 digital audio inputs because both the Denons have multi-layers, which means each player has 2 layers. And that means you need 2 inputs or 2 upfaders per player if you want to take advantage of that. So that's the reason why I went to the Allen Heat. Some of the users of my tools recommended it to me, it brought it to my attention. I didn't know it even existed. But he said, hey, listen, you've got the DB4, which has 4 digital inputs. I must admit, this was the first mixer ever in my entire career as a DJ and as a geek that I needed to read the manual for. I never had to read any manuals for anything, but for this mixer I needed to read the manual because there is so much going on this mixer and there is so much possible of this mixer, but the moment I pulled it out of the box I was unable to get audio out of it. The reason for that is that each channel, if you like, can be assigned to a different input. And for instance, I like to use the 2 middle faders as my A deck and my B deck, and this is my C and this is my D. And you see the same thing on the X1800, you see the same thing on the DJM 900. But that also meant that I had to rewire everything because right on top of it you see input select. I hope it is visible there. And that says it is input select to the first, but you can input select it to every other channel you like. I never saw that on any mixer in my entire life. So I just janked everything in. I thought, all right, I should get some sound, and was unable to get sound because I had the inputs all wrong. And that's just the beginning of it. Another real annoying thing about this mixer that I had to battle is the fact that by default all effects are post-fader, and I like my effects to be pre-fader. Because I'm coming from Traktor, and Traktor has the best effects in the industry pre-fader. So that was a little bit getting used to. It for sure is indeed the best underrated mixer, and we are starting to get in an affair, the DB4 and I. But the first time I was using it, and it might be a combination of the 6000 amps, which were new to me, and the DB4, more about that later, which made it a little bit of an awkward or difficult thing to get used to. But now I'm knowing, after reading the manual and showing some YouTube tutorials, how to set it up. I got my effects, at least right now, pre-fader. I would like to have some other tweaks, but I'm going to find if indeed those tweaks are possible. But overall, I'm very happy with it, especially if you look at the price point of this mixer, then you can't go wrong with this mixer. But this is not your average DJ mixer. This is not the kind of mixer you buy because you were working Serato and thought, I need another mixer later. This mixer requires you to read the manual. The equalize button, for instance, you can make them isolators, you can make them filters. You can do so much stuff, but if I look at how easy it is to configure, once you understand the reasoning behind it, then it gets a lot easier. About the spinning plates on the SC6000M, first of all, the screens are beautiful. I was used to my 5000 screens. Coming from a CDJ screen, the 5000 screen, of course, is a huge improvement. But after using the 5000, I found myself totally sold on the 5000. Like Laidback Luke always says, it works like an iPad, and it's true, it works like an iPad. If I was doing gigs I sometimes, for the family, you know how it goes, niece has a birthday or something, and if the uncle can play a little set, of course I can, but then I can walk away, and those younger people immediately know how a device like that works because they are used to an iPad, so they can select a new track, etc. You don't need to be there. That is marvelous, that's really great. The sensitivity of this is great, the torque of it is great. The only problem I have with it is that it is a little bit too slippery, and I don't know if the cam is showing you that, but I'm coming from a vinyl age. You saw behind me the 1200s. That is what I teach myself to spin with, because that was pre-YouTube and everything. So that's what I teach myself to spin on. And usually if I'm just wanted to nudge a track slower, I use this. I go to the side because I'm also of the variety of people who wants to be, who tries to be nice to the vinyl they use. So I came from the age that you don't do this. And of course, if you are a turntablist, you do this all day. I'm from the age that you correct on the label. So I'm doing usually this. But this is too slippery. It is too easy to move too far. Just a little nudge is almost not possible. If you want to grab it, then you go too far. So if you want to nudge this thing forward, the only thing you can do is use the pitch bend buttons right there, which are kind of a Denon trademark. The problem I have is I didn't buy spinning vinyl to use buttons to pitch forward. So I have to adopt myself, I have to teach myself how to correct forward without overcorrecting it. So basically I need to put a brake on it, and I'm starting to master it because the trick to it is that you have to do it like a turntable. You have to do it right here and not here, because then the torque is just too high of the nudge. And you can do that on vinyl because that has that is much easier to do it that way, or maybe because I've done that a gazillion times and this not so long. But overall, I'm very happy with this rig. It is nominated for me personal to become my favorite performance rig. The 5000 used to be that. This is becoming it slowly. But there are some things I still have to master on the DB4 and on the 6000M, and that is on the correction side of the 6000M, because besides that, this is a marvelous piece of kit. So I can highly recommend it. Then, if we move a little bit further, we go indeed here at the Pioneer Station, like I said, and this is where it all began, folks. This is my Nexus 2000 kit with the DGM 900, and because the laptop is on the other DGM 900, and don't worry, there's a deck saver underneath, so I'm not putting stuff right on my equipment. That's the set that holds it all together. Even the audio from the analog set right behind me is still routed through the DGM 900, so everything is coming through this DGM 900 inside of here. Oh, thanks Tobias. Tobias says there is a lot of tweaks in the latest firmware. I think I'm running the latest firmware on the DB4 because that's a rather old firmware, right? That's from 2018 or something, I think. They haven't updated it very recently, but I think I'm on the latest firmware of the DB4. And like I said, it is something I have to get used to, and that is because I'm carrying a legacy inside of me. I'm doing this shit for almost 40 years, which means that if something dramatically new crosses my path, it takes time for me to adjust. But I can see the benefits of the DB4, and for high-end DJs, I would certainly always recommend, this is a brand new unit, so it's on the latest firmware. So for DJs who want to go the extra mile, I was personally, my first thing I wanted to do was swapping out the 900 right here. So this one, swapping this one out for a V10, and then having the 900 in the 6000M coffin. But even for me, I couldn't justify buying the V10. The premium it carries doesn't show me the advantages it offers. So that's the reason why I went this route. And to be honest, I'm happy with it. I'm very happy with it. Then there are some other things I wanted you guys to show, because I brought some old gear as well. Why not? Dusting off the old garage. Let me put the cover on the DB4. Get that one back like this. Because I'm using Denon much longer than I imagined. Remember this thing, folks? I just found it again. This is a satellite controller, and as you can read, it is by Denon. And that is back in 1994. I think Denon was the first one who had a reliable pitch control on a CD player. And this satellite connector was connected to wall-mounted units, to rack-mounted units, to CD players in one. It was capable of controlling 2 units. You see the 1 and the 2. I still got the master unit as well. And you could pitch it, and that pitch was good. What was also important about this unit was that it spun up very, very quickly. The moment you queued it, and you pressed play, it started playing. Now this queue, folks, was not a USB thing that you could store, etc. You needed to set it every time. So there was here, you could see where you were in the track. There was, of course, the time running. You could fast forward using this jog wheel. Then you could pause it, queue it up, and you could use it. You could even scratch a little bit with it, but not too good. So that was remarkable. That was one of the first that really had that, and this was way before Pioneer got involved into the DJ gear business, because all I knew Pioneer from in those days were from the consumer electronic amplifiers they had, and Pioneer was very well known in the Netherlands for making the best car audio systems that there were, with the compact cassette players and everything in it. So that was the role Pioneer was doing. And for me, this changed everything. I've used this thing so much together with my SL1200s, because this was the first time that I was able to use CDs in my set. And before this thing, I was unable to use CDs at all in my set, because you couldn't pitch them, or the pitches would move, would drift ridiculously, would spun up in like 1 second, and that was just unusable. So that's what I picked up to show you guys. Then I've got, from the old geek department, this thing here, which is a Yamaha RI30 drum computer. When I started to make some money out of DJing, and I was known for doing mixes and remixes, but I couldn't afford a Roland 808, which I really wanted to have. This was the next best thing. This wasn't too expensive. It came with these kind of ROM cards, and this is basically a ROM card house and wrap, it says. But it makes this unit sound close to an 808. It had the old DIN MIDI connectors, all that kind of stuff. I've done a lot of it with this thing, and I thought, why not? Maybe fellows want to see that as well. Then we've got, of course, the thing that changed everything for me. I was using Traktor for quite a while, but only from a screen. And then Vestax came out with the original VCI 100 unit. No audio card inside, just a USB connector. Traktor was mapped for it, and this changed everything, because this basically made it possible to mix like I mixed on vinyl on Traktor. So this is a very important piece of equipment as well. And then for the really geek part of you guys, we've got this. Because I was using Mac way before I was doing audio on Mac. And one of the first things, one of the things I was part of, that I witnessed, was going from 8-bit audio, yeah, you hear that right, 8-bit audio to 16-bit audio. And that was with this software, Sound Edit. Before Sound Edit 16, this was the newer version. After the Macromedia takeover, they took over Sound Edit, because before that Sound Edit was a sound editor made by Farallon, and Farallon was best known for the networking connector, the PhoneNet connectors, but they also had some Sound Edit program, and that was Sound Edit. This looks very much like, if you're familiar with it, Amadeus. Amadeus is a software, it's just your basic waveform editor. It's a very simplified version of Ableton. Audacity comes close to it, and this was back in 1994, I think, the 16-bit version of it, because macOS finally allowed 16-bit audio. Before that, you have to use stuff like this. This is DEC 2 from OSC. And 2 was the first multi-track audio recorder with MIDI integrated, besides Pro Tools, because Pro Tools was for most people really not reachable. It had such a huge price point that it was basically not feasible to buy that. So that's a little bit of Mac history as well there, folks. Then finally, remember that I told you guys that I'm doing this DJ software stuff for very, very long. And let me find for that my DVS computer. Let's connect to it, because I still spin my vinyl, because that's why the thing is there. But back in, I think 1990 or something, I started out with designing software for my collection, because very quickly I came to the conclusion that I wanted to find my stuff back, starting up, I want to find my tracks back and my CDs and my vinyl. And I wanted to remember the combinations I made, and that really worked well. And for that I made audio collection software. And mind you, this is way before iTunes ever existed. This is, Pioneer did only make those car audio systems back in those days. What you are looking at right here, let me show you that, is an emulated old MacOS, and I think it's 8.5 I'm running at. Let me double check that for you guys. That shows you a little bit of my history. Oh, 8.6. 8.6 is, as far as I'm concerned, the tank of macOS systems. Let me make sure that it's not being scaled, because, yep, that's better. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. The moment your Mac starts scaling, things will start to look shitty. And you don't want that, so that's why you do it like this. Let me find the program. So this is where I'm coming from, folks. This is how everything for me started. I have to do this one. Go ahead. And as you can see, it is just a very simple database. It's a relational database, and Foxbase was DBase 3 compliant relational database. So it's rather snappy, it's very quick, and you could do stuff with it that nothing else could. And you can see that this is what I wrote and what I used. To the left you see the master record, and then to the right you see the more right here. Meer is more in Dutch, and there you got something else. You can see that the medium was tagged. So this is, for instance, Final 179, side B, the first track. You can pitch it down 1%, and there is more because you can also do it with Skipper and Turner. And this is what I read means the end. This is what I wrote back in, you see it right here, 1988 it is even. So that gives you an idea how long I'm doing this shit. This is really ancient and old, but it still works. It works through an emulator, but it still works. And only I always forgot to make a quit button for that. So I wanted to see that stuff too. I wanted you to see this stuff too. Then, the final word. Are there any questions? Are there anything that anybody wants to see, know, understand about my set, my studio, why I do the things the way I do them? Because then I'm happy to answer all of your questions right now. Just drop them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer it. So if you've got questions, go ahead. This is your time. If not, then we are coming to the end of this stream, which was kind of a holiday special stream about how my setup is done. Some important notes about if you are going to think about streaming from macOS yourself that you need to take into account. So ask away, and otherwise I say to you guys, thank you for watching. Pleasure to show you around in my little neck of the woods. Next week, I don't think there will be a stream, and the week after that we are, I think, in Christmas mode, but that all depends. We'll see about that. If you've got questions about collection management and conversion for DJs, or you've got macOS DJ Tech questions, or macOS questions, just ask them. Yes, Kevin, this is just a separate house from my normal mansion. This is just the studio and office section. I'm in right here. So, like I said, I'm a little bit of a sport brat. I said that at the beginning of the stream. Us Dutch people normally don't do this kind of thing because we normally we don't like to bling bling. Neither do I, but there were so many questions from so many people on how is your studio wired, what does it look like, what do you have set up, and that's the reason why I decided to go and do this stream about, all right, this is my place, this is what I look like, and this is just the studio part, this is not the mansion actually. So that was for showing that around. Anthony, thank you very much, my friend. You too have a great holiday, and thank you for all the support you give me over all the social media. It is seen and highly appreciated. And for all you watchers, thank you for watching. If there is not going to be a stream next week, and I think there will not be because it's my birthday. But I don't know because we are in hard lockdown. So most likely it's just Yvette and I to have a party, and maybe we just do some streaming then. It all depends. So we have to see how that goes. What more can I say? Thank you for watching. If you like what I'm doing, please don't forget to like, subscribe, etc. my social media, because the companies in this industry use the social media exposure as a measure of how relevant you are. And the problem for me is that my social media is only a tiny percentage of my entire user base, so I need to boost that a little bit. So please, if you like what I'm doing and you think it's useful, then like, subscribe, etc. For now, thank you for watching, and hope to see you all again, at least last year. Stay safe. Mixmaster G signing off.